My mom had issues. She had 10 children, was unable to take care of us. First foster home I went to was horrible. The woman really mistreated us. She put us in a closet and refused to feed us for like days. So my first encounter with the system led to me not trusting the system. And I felt like everywhere I went, I didn't know what was going to happen. So I ran away.
I worked about 24 years at the Heartland Girls Ranch, and there we worked with girls with emotional behavioral issues. And these were girls that came to us very damaged, very hurt. Often there was abuse and neglect in their home. We experienced a lot of mental health issues that they were struggling with. And these kids were really needing someone who could nurture them and care for them, give them opportunity to discover who they were, to really build them up.
I was 12 years old when I met Cece. I was a resident at the Heartland Girls Ranch. I had some success there, I really did. It was one of the programs where I connected with some staff, but afterwards there was no place to place me. Every foster home was like, she can't come here, she ran away, she did this, she did that. And so Cece at that time had got a foster care license for me to stay at her home.
Javille was a gal that I knew God had asked, and we felt very led to bring her into our home, the only foster child we ever had.
I stayed at Cece's home for like 6 months, something like that. I played basketball. A lot of good things were happening, but coming from a child who thought she deserved nothing, I shut down. And I went on a visit one time with family and ran away from Cece's home.
I always talk about how my journey with Javille was always her running away. We stayed in contact, and I would be praying for her and just really concerned of whether she was alive or dead. At this point, I knew she was being trafficked.
Within like a week of me being on run from her home, I ran into a trafficker. Of course, he knew that I was homeless and knew that I was young. He picked up on right away. I was around almost 13 years old. Most children are that young and have no idea. You're so frightened and so scared that this man or these people will hurt you if you leave, or there's nowhere that you can go that they won't find you, or that they're constantly around the corner looking and spying on you. It's placed in your head from day one. Second or third night that I was around this trafficker, he made sure that I knew he had a gun. He made sure that I knew that if someone got out of line, he'd beat the crap out of them, which is what he did.
It would be sometimes a year at a time before I'd hear. I'd be praying, and all of a sudden I'd get a phone call, and it'd be Javille. And I would just tell her how much I loved her and encourage her to do what she could to get out, and that I would help in any way. And then she would disappear for sometimes another year or more. And it felt like a long time, because there were times where I truly didn't know if she was alive, and I would just be praying for her.
Even if a woman was to walk away, what would you do? I saw no way out, simply because who would hire me? How could I look people in the eyes and say, this is what I've been doing for the last 6 years plus? I was shunned. I felt like the scum of the earth. I felt like lower than dirt. And people, you could tell by the way people looked at me when I told them what I was involved in.
Adults have often been kind of put on the shelf and figured, they should know better. They're adults now. They really should be able to take care of themselves and get out of this. And what people don't understand is when you have been a victim of all of this trauma and this abuse, and you've had that trauma bonding and that brainwashing, you're like a child. You have not gotten the skills and abilities to even figure out how to get out. And so working with these women really means surrounding them with the support that they need, the nurturing they need, but also the skills to be an adult person.
There's only a few ways usually the life ends, and it's suicide or an overdose or homicide. That being said, I just know that life is worth living.
For someone to get out of sex trafficking and exploitation really takes a lot of support.
Not only do you need to physically stop the act of trafficking, but you have to have chemical dependency support. You have to have spiritual support.
And then we're looking at all of the necessities of therapy and building skills into their lives, teaching them ways to be employed and to really understand that they're worthy of a good life and that they are a valued and loved person by God.
There's no parallel to having someone that has been through what you've been through and can understand. I mean, people can empathize, but to say, I know
Javille has grown to be an amazing young woman, and I want her to be that path for others to see they can do the same. Up until recently, there really had not been any type of housing services in central Minnesota for these sex trafficked and exploited women. Terebinth Refuge is filling that need.
These are women and children and people that will die or be lost forever if we don't do something.
We really look to you in the community to support us and to, in that way, really save lives. God is a God that loves and desires healing and restoration in lives. And with the work that we're doing at Terebinth Refuge, we are allowing God to do that work in the lives of these women. And so there's hope. There is hope.